All right, so not Lex. Lex is off camera. That's
that's our magic trick.
We turned him into Chris.
That's right. I'm good.
You know, Pan says that one of his annoyances is when he's referred to as a magician. He's like, no. I am a carny. Tell her is the magician. I am carny trash. He said he was walking past a carnival, back behind all the tents in a carnival with his wife, and he saw some lady getting ready for a magic show. She was cutting carrots up, and he looked at his wife, and he's like, that close. You were that close to being that lady. Let's do it. Okay.
All right.
Hey, everybody. Welcome. I'm Shane. This is Chris.
Howdy.
Yeah, I kind of changed it up a little bit. We wanted to have Chris come on in because Chris actually wrote the, if you've gone out to the package library, you've seen the uninstall Microsoft Office packages. They were highly requested, and one of the biggest issues always with uninstalling Office silently, with all the different flavors of Office, you had to know which product code you were talking about, and the product codes were just all over the place.
Yes.
So you actually automated that. I've actually imported a bunch of these. You can see the uninstall Microsoft Office down here. He does take you back. I think that was like in January or something. You did this.
Probably.
Anyway, if you go out to the package library, you will see. I'll just type in, I'll just do a little filter here, uninstall Microsoft. You'll see the bunch of Microsoft Offices. I like that you did break them down by versions, but there is this top level one, uninstall Microsoft, that will go through all Microsoft Office applications, but not the individual ones like Visio or Project.
Correct.
You look for the Microsoft, anything in the application name that begins with Microsoft Office.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then whatever version it ends in is what it ends in. Just a quick
I'm talking about the main office.
Yes.
Yeah, the main office will just kind of do a full clean of it. But there are questions that we get quite often, and that is, I just want to remove a particular component, like a very, very popular one is Visio. Maybe you're getting a true up or something like that. People are like, I've got Office installed on 500 machines, and we just installed Visio on 100 of them, but now only 16 need them, and you just realized how expensive those Visio licenses are. So how can I remove from 84 machines just Visio without having to uninstall everything?
You just walk around to each one.
Yeah. So, I've got an uninstall Office Visio here, and if you notice in the in this package that once again, this part's not on the package library. I'm not using an install step, I'm using a command step. And in the command step, it's maybe kind of hard to follow along on that one, but basically you have to run the setup.exe, which is installed, and we're not talking about the click to run, right? This is the standard Office. This is largely unchanged from 2010, 2013. You have to run on the target computer the setup.exe that's in your Microsoft shared common files. And then you give it the uninstall, and this right there, that Viz Pro in this case, that's that product code I was talking about. That's a pain in the butt to try to nail down because there's so many variations of that. And if you don't have the right code there, we get people, I'm going to just quickly, before I have you jump in here, Chris, let me just go to a machine that I know has, do we not have Jarvis on here? Sorry. Let's just add this. We're going to go to a computer that I know for sure has Office, or a Visio, in this case Visio 2016. Good, so we're hitting Jarvis. If you look at the uninstall, while we're waiting for that, I will just pull up maybe another one here. If you look at the uninstall for a Microsoft Office, remember in PDQ inventory, we have the ability to uninstall from a remote command. You could just, like for LibreOffice, it's nice. It begins with an MSI exec. Those are almost always a slam dunk. I could just say uninstall. For the most part, we make those MSI execs quiet. You can just run that. Most other uninstalls that do not have an MSI exec, you need to take the effort to find the silent parameters. But Office takes that to a new level. If you just hit uninstall for Office, This is, you can see there's the Viz Pro. This is going to do an interactive uninstall. This is the same command that if you go to Programs Features in the control panel and say uninstall, it's going to ask you these questions. No, the point here is you have to make this quiet, and to do that, you have to pass the /config parameter, and then you have to add an XML file. And that XML file basically says what components you want to uninstall. So if you go, I'm going to go back over here to this package. Notice I got the /config, and then we do, if you can, I'm not sure if you can zoom in even more. You have to specify the path to that. What is, you see CD, percent CD percent, what is that?
Current directory.
That's correct. And we are adding this XML file. You can see in the files down here, behind us. We're actually adding this config-remove. So I'm going to actually just go to this path really quick so you can see this.
We're magicians. We have magic up our sleeves. This is the magic.
Right. So very important. You're going to do this from a command step. You have to have this file added because this is how you make it silent. So there is the config remove. All right. Edit. Just edit that guy. And that's really the XML that you need. You want to break this down a little bit?
Sure. I mean, the first part just actually identifies, hey, it's a configuration XML that has specific tags in there that Microsoft has said, hey, we actually look for these, and if you have these, interpret them. In this case, we're saying take this product ID, which we have specified, and then do the following to it, which is the next line, display level. There's a couple different display levels, similar to like MSI exec, where you can have no display, you can kind of have a basic little box that shows up that what's going on, which if you want the user to see that you're doing something, you can do that, but we prefer not to.
I mean, the whole point here is silent.
Right. Same thing with like the completion notice. We don't need to know that you finished doing something. The end user doesn't need to know. And in fact, if it pops up, it's going to hang.
If you have this display level set to none and completion notice set to yes, what's going to happen is the installation is going to complete, or in this case, the uninstall, and a hidden window, because we're running this with a display level of none, will still pop up saying, hey, you're done, but no one will see it. This process will never terminate, and you're going to go, hey, this finally timed out, but it was actually uninstalled. What's going on? So make sure that the completion notice is set to no. There are times you could set this to basic, but that's mostly for troubleshooting.
Yes.
Right? You set this to basic, and then you do your run as deploy user interactive. Anyway.
Yes.
Very simple. Once you know the product code, so if you've got one version of Visio that you've pushed out, and if you have inventory, once again, just go look at that uninstall string. This might work for your entire organization, but when if you do have a smattering of a bunch of different Visio
every version,
yes. So do you want to talk a little bit about how you can automate that, or do you want to go into the scripts? Okay, I'm going to let you drive.
Sure. So
I'll switch places.
For those of you who have actually imported the uninstall Office, any one of the flavors, thanks. I hope it's working for you. With that, one of those, actually all of the scripts typically look for a specific part in the registry to try and identify the product code. This is kind of misleading for the entire Office suite because you see a bunch of, well, let me show you. We'll actually pull up the registry and show you.
Okay.
Let's actually, do we have Office installed on this guy?
There's the Office uninstalls are right there.
Okay, we'll just pull up any one of these, really.
All right.
Any one of them is fine. I just want to actually show you the script real quick. I know no one really wants to look at the script because it's kind of boring, although it's really exciting.
It is PowerShell, and I believe you tested this against PowerShell 4.
Yes.
So
should work from 3 onward. There's a few things in here that we could probably, in your own environments, modify it to work with 2, but I haven't worked exclusively with PowerShell 2 for a while.
Just upgrade.
Yeah, it's so easy. So, there's a lot of stuff here. Essentially all it's doing is it's saying, okay, follow this pattern. I just have a regular expression pattern to identify what's going on, to kind of filter, to make sure I'm grabbing the particular product code. And then go look in the registry for these 2 locations, depending upon whether you have a 32-bit or 64-bit installation. And it'll even detect both. If for some reason, somehow you have both installed, it'll actually find both for you. So it'll actually grab these locations right here, and then it looks for, let's see.
Yep. In this case, you're looking for Microsoft Office. You've got the splat, the wildcard, 2016.
Yep.
And we don't want you guys to get overwhelmed by looking at this entire script. One of the biggest benefits of this script is that it finds that product code, that elusive product code. Chris was able to suss out the fact that there's a registry key in uninstall that will always have, or so far, heretofore.
Yeah, knock on wood here.
The product code. You want to hurry and let's go to a registry. Let's go to a machine that has this. I've got remote registry installed over here.
Oh, on this machine? Mm-hmm. Oh, awesome.
So go to,
let's close out of these guys.
do you have is it on Heineken?
I think we have it on Heineken, yes.
So let's make sure we have Heineken installed.
Heineken.
You can also go to Jarvis. I didn't know that's in there, but
Heineken is right there.
okay. So hit Control-Alt-9. That's the there it is. Remote registry.
Like magic.
So we're going to open the remote registry for Heineken, and we're going to go to the uninstall.
Yep.
Now, while he's drilling down, I want to nail this down for you. When you're talking about building your installs and your uninstalls for Office, the bitness is very important. You cannot put Visio 32-bit 2016 on a machine that has Office 64-bit,
right,
and vice versa. So I would recommend either sticking straight 32-bit all the way across, or truly go off the architecture. If you have a 64-bit machine, just make sure it's consistent. 64-bit on all of those, including all the components, and 32-bit on the 32-bit machines. It's one or the other. Don't mix and match. You will run into failures if you try to do that.
You're going to have a bad time.
All right, so we're looking at the uninstall key.
Correct.
On this computer Heineken.
And I wanted to show two different things.
Please.
Because there's two things that people get hung up on. And that's, you see all these keys. I mean, there's tons here.
For Office.
The Office, you can see the 0FF1CE. That's their clever way of being Office, this GUID here. So you might mistakenly click on this one here and see, oh, this is the display name for Office. You can see Office Professional Plus 2016. Mm-hmm. And you might think that this is the actual full product that you want to uninstall. It is not.
And how can you tell that?
There's one really tricky and clever way, is looking for this D word called system component. Mm-hmm. If that exists and it's set to 1, that essentially says hide it from the add remove programs, and because it's part of one larger installation.
System component being true. Oh,
yes, and you can actually trace that throughout. We're not going to go into that today because it gets complicated real fast to see how they all link together, but this is kind of a red herring in this sense.
Gotcha. So your script actually goes out, looks through the uninstall key. You see, oh, there's something that matches my pattern, Microsoft Office Splat 2016. However, it's got a system component that's true, so ignore this one.
Yep.
Okay.
So then in my pattern ID that I use the regular expressions for, I'm looking for something in the name of the key itself, and lo and behold, right here we have Office 16.Pro Plus. As it turns out, that Pro Plus is your product ID.
So anything past that first dot.
Correct, but it's different for the click to run ones. So like for the Office 365, it's going to be, I believe, as I recall, the product ID and then space, then your language ID. And so it's different. So there's two different ones you're looking for, and that's kind of the confusing part. So when we say, as long as they don't change, for now it works, but who knows, we'll have to modify it in the future. But here's the real one. You can see there's no system component D word here. So this is the one. And if you uninstall this, you uninstall for everybody.
All right, let's open up. Let's go to, do we install, let's go to Jarvis. Open up Jarvis. There we go. Do the remote. Here's what we're going to do. Now we've already got just because we're in a sanitized environment somewhat, we already know that Viz Pro is the product key. But I want you to go out to Jarvis, suss out what the product key is for Visio so that we can uninstall Visio.
All right. So this one is,
there we go.
Okay. A little more complicated, as you can see.
Mm-hmm. There's quite a why we got multiple Office components installed in there.
Yes, and you can actually see.
There it is.
Down here, don't forget. I mean, the top ones are the red herrings. Ignore them. Down here, you can actually see Office 16.Viz Pro, and there is your product ID.
As well as Pro Plus. So So our goal here is to uninstall just Visio, but keep the Office 2016 Pro Plus intact. So let's go ahead and do that. Now we've already got the package, but once again, this is how you would help to suss out what the product code is. So if we look at the let's go to the Uninstall Visio, Office Visio. So in here we've got our command step that runs the same thing that you find in the uninstall string, but we did add the /config and that very simple XML file that we pointed out, and we added that as an additional file. And just so you know, let's go out to Jarvis. I'm going to open up in PDQ inventory. Will you just type in Visio? Just type in Visio so we can just lose that second B.
Oh, Visio.
All right, so there is Microsoft Office Visio, Professional 2016. Let's remove that guy.
Do it.
All right. So we're going to go out and simply deploy. Go ahead and deploy that to Jarvis.
We're going to destroy. Go.
I think this is Jason's computer.
So if you're watching, surprise.
Hey, Jason. If you're using Visio, sorry.
This is your wake-up call. Stop.
Yeah, sure. Let's throw a question out while we're waiting.
Dear Shane and PowerShell guru Chris, what's the benefits of using the XML install way you're showing versus using the Office admin way, creating an MSP file / blah, 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 blah? Daryl S.
All right, so hi Daryl. You are talking about the awesome OCT. That's the Office Customization Toolkit. Highly recommend that you use that if you're not talking about Office 365. So if you're talking, if you've got you purchased 2013 or you purchased Office 2016, use this OCT. We have a lot of we do have a lot of knowledge base articles and even videos on that. That's where you actually customize. There's a nice little application that Microsoft provides running that /admin where you customize the installation. And the cool thing about this is if you want to add Visio, so let's say that you've got you use the OCT to push out Office 2016, and now you want to install Visio, not just to uninstall. You can use the OCT. You just have to have a separate MSP file for Visio. So if you can actually see, we've kind of. Now I'll go ahead and sit over here while we're waiting for Jarvis to uninstall. And let's just check. Yeah, we'll check that status really quick. Okay, so Jarvis finished. We'll get to you in a second, Daryl. Let's go out to inventory because we have this set to scan after. So if we type in Visio, poof, yep, it's gone. But if we look at Office, there it is. Office Pro is still there. So it just removed Visio. Now, so the question you're talking, if you're talking about install, Daryl, and you use the OCT, absolutely use the OCT again for Visio. So you go out to your install files. Make sure you take your install files. This is for Visio 2016. You can actually see our MSP right there. You have to have that admin directory. Notice where I'm highlighting right there. You have to have that admin directory. But it's as simple as running this. And Daryl, I would recommend when you're adding that you do this. You just take that setup. I'm going to copy that setup over there and do the /admin. This will instantiate the Office Customization Toolkit as long as you do have that admin folder. Right. We're going to open an existing customization file. And it is, let's see, Microsoft Office. I think it's in.
By the way, that was Jason's computer, and
awesome. So there's the MSP file that we created. You could create a new one using this, but we'll open this up. Perfect. And now all we're doing in this is installing Visio. So you could have, you could use the OCT, yep. Use a package to install it. Here, in fact, here is, I'm going to close this up. When you want to deploy something that you created with the OCT, the command is very simple. It's /admin to open it up and configure it, then you save it. There is Office 2016. Notice we're using an install step, not a command step like we were with the uninstall. And we're running setup.exe, and then the parameter is /adminfile, and then the name of your MSP, what you created. This is, and then of course we included the entire directory. It's 2 gigabytes. If you don't do that, you're going to fail. The Visio same thing. You could actually run this as a separate step in that same, if you want to install Office and Visio,
Right.
you would just have to have this as a separate step because you have to have a separate OFCT file, MSP file for Visio and for if you're using Microsoft Project, etc. So notice same syntax /admin file on the setup. Notice the 64-bit, very important since we're only doing this on the conditions for 64-bit architecture, but anyway, /admin file, and then that MSP file. It's great. This is a great way to install. In fact, we could probably put Visio right back.
I was actually just thinking that.
To Jason. It might require a reboot. Let's take a quick peek and see if his system requires a reboot after that. It probably does. In inventory, we'll scroll on down. Needs reboot, yeah. So we would have to, I want to reboot before I'd push this out to him, but I'm also not going to just shut him down.
Yeah,
Just
bad
as
idea.
Visio. So in answer to your question, use the OCT, the MSP, Daryl, when you're talking about installing and you're not talking about Office 365. It's an excellent tool. Well, once you want to start removing, however, that's where you would look at these XML files.
Yeah.
That's where you could do that. You could also break it down. I want to remove project. You just have to find that project code. So it's if we want to break this down a little bit, in this config remove, let's just say that, I'm going to center that again. Here you're talking about removing VizPro, but if you wanted to remove another component, once again, all you have to do is type in that component name there. And that should work for you, right?
Should.
And there's obviously a lot of different components to this. Maybe you want to remove, Outlook, or maybe you want to remove Access. What are some gotchas that we've seen before? Can you name one? Like with anything with click to run or Office 365 or anything?
They're different. They can be different. I know if you try using the same config file for one of the others, I recall it's not going to work. The ones you can exclude app. So in the config file, you can actually run with a configuration file to exclude an app from an installation you already have, which kind of sounds a little bit backwards, but you can actually uninstall it that way. You cannot do that with the standalone installations, I think,
Yeah.
as I recall.
Let's go ahead and throw it. I think we have another question.
Dear Shane and Chris, is there a way to remove the old OneDrive for Business client, groove.exe, from a click-to-run installation without a full reinstall? Your cousin Eddie, C.
One of the greatest characters in all of cinema is Cousin Eddie from the vacation movies.
And he's watching our webcast. That is amazing. Thank you.
And you remember what beer he was drinking, right, in Christmas Vacation?
No.
It's a beer that the old beer.com, it's gone now, I guess, but beer.com rated, they used to have these great rating systems for all these beers, and there's one beer that had a 0.0 rating, and it was Meisterbrow. And that's what Cousin Eddie was drinking when he was emptying the toilet into the storm drain.
Good taste.
Anyway, okay, so you're talking about removing Groove. So if it's a client, I think we got this question in early, huh? Was this the one that you looked at, Lex?
Yeah.
All right.
I took a look and found the XML for that. Yeah.
All right, thanks. So Lex did. So did you put that out there in the webcast?
Rich.
Yep, there it is. Remove Groove.
Yeah.
We haven't tested this, but I'm going to open up this XML file.
We'll do it live.
Ha! I don't even think we have it installed. So notice this is what Lex came up with. If you just wanted to remove Groove, I'm not sure if you tried this, but find that uninstall string, and then this would be your /config parameter. Remember how we had that XML for Visio? You would have /config and then point to this file.
Yep.
Where it removes, like in this case, Groove Retail. That would be at least in some cases, that's the product ID. And
For the English version.
for the
right?
English US version, yeah. The English version is somewhat, or the language ID is important.
Yes,
Actually.
especially for those of you in multi-language environments, this can make or break this entire thing.
Display level is none, etc. So I would try that. Look back at what we've done for removing Visio, but just take this information and try that. Yeah, hopefully that will work for you. This is the way Microsoft publishes the way to silently add or remove components. Once again, I want to just call this out. Notice that when you're adding components this way, not using the OCT, you've got the add here, but here we're saying remove.
Yep.
I mean, it can't be any more clear, I guess.
Pretty straightforward.
Yeah. Any of your other elements. If you got remove, it's going to try to remove that from that installation. So hopefully that helps.
Right, and if you have any questions about any of those, how they work, that remove or add or whatever, they actually have that on Microsoft's website, like a list of all of them.
You know, I noticed you had put some URLs out.
Yeah.
Are these the ones you were talking about?
That's one of them, yes, and then this one is, I think, the other one, yeah.
So let's take a quick peek.
This looks,
I'll let you drive.
Oh, no, this looks like it. So you can actually see a bunch of examples, for example, language with English or Japanese. This is actually geared right towards me. Awesome.
Because Chris speaks Japanese.
Fluently.
Yes, he does. It's always fun walking past his office when he's.
I can't tell if he's yelling at his wife or being very sincere and loving.
Reminds me of that Simpsons episode where Lisa gets in the wrong side of town.
The Russians.
He like tosses the chessboard, and the caption is basically, "That was a great game of chess. Let's play again."
But yeah, just their reflections scared her.
Yeah. So here's all the different the items that you can use within the XML file. Some examples of how you use them. Check them out. They're really. There's a lot of good information here, and that's really what I wanted to bring up. Was that? So.
And there's the add element. There's the remove element.
Yep.
So keep that in mind. Hey, by the way, do we have any more questions? Because Chris and I will just end up rambling.
I can do that.
Yeah, let's take one more, and then we'll wrap it up.
PowerShell. Boom.
Okay, dear Shane and Chris, what is the best way to remove Skype/Lync? When I try and remove it, it always times out. Same issue when trying to install Skype/Lync. No relation to Cousin Eddie. Uncle Ed P.
You want to take this one?
Well, I was just going to say, I mean, you referenced this earlier. Possibly.
Reference what?
Well, let me back up a little bit. My mind's disjointed from what I'm saying. Anyway, when you're talking about if you're doing it from the XML file and you're telling it to do display level none, but you have it show the confirmation dialog, we'll do something like this. Additionally, you need to make sure that Skype Lync, I mean, the same product name, you got to make sure you have the product ID. If you have the correct product ID, it should work with that same one.
So make sure that the completion notice is set. So I guess a follow-up question, Ed, does it actually add or remove, depending on the context, but it just times out? If that's the case, look at the completion notice tag and make sure that it is set to no.
Yes.
Because you don't want to show that. And once again, it will be set to hidden. Now, one thing that you can do, I mentioned this, if you really want to troubleshoot this, you can come over. I'm gonna duplicate this real quick. Office Visio Pro. You come over to your install step. Set your options to run as deploy user interactive. All right, and then come out to go out to that XML file. Maybe let's pardon me. Yeah, it's a two-step process. So we're going to say, I want to see this. This is how you can find out if it's a completion notice or anything else that's screwing you up.
Yeah.
Come out. Let's just grab. I'm smoking crack here. Hold on.
That almost sounded like the current affair theme from a long time ago.
I'm going to come over to the config remove. I'm just going to copy and paste that. And I'm going to edit this. And we're going to make this one say basic. All right. So this two-step process, and then we'll change the name of this to config remove basic. Right? How's that sound? What you're going to do with this really should only be used for troubleshooting. I'm going to come back over here. I'm going to change, pardon me, the uninstall or whatever it was. Uninstall Visio. I would change, I did the wrong one, deploy user interactive on this, and then change this file to the basic. You want to just modify that because you're going to do the dash basic. And what you do then is do a remote desktop session or something to this machine, and you'll actually see the window or the Microsoft dialog boxes, but there's not going to be any user interaction required, but you will be able to see what's going on, and if a completion notice shows up, it'll stay there. You can actually click OK. If there's another error that pops up, then you will see that, and you won't have to wait for the timeout. But this is really, once again, only should be used for, and you change that, call that, only be used for troubleshooting, just to see what you're doing. Once you nail it down, make everything run as a display level none, and run as deploy user, not as deploy user interactive. Sound good?
Sounds great.
Yeah, check out those uninstall Microsoft packages that are in the package library. Certainly for your main Office programs, because they work just brilliantly. And thank you very much for taking the time on those to nail that down. Yeah, that just solved so many of our customers. We had so much feedback from people saying thank you. I had so many different. I had Office 2007 and Office 2010 all on the same machine, and 13, and I'm trying to get up to 16 and just blast it out, remove those, and you're good to go.
Yeah.
If you have any questions, by all means, hit up our support forums. And if you have any suggestions for future webcasts, I think next week we're going to hit a nice PowerShell one. We've got a guest, I believe, coming in. So, one of our regular viewers, who's also a PowerShell expert. So.
Yes.
All right, I'm Shane.
I'm Chris.
We'll talk to you guys later. Rock on.
Ciao.
Thank you for being a part of our webcast today. I want to congratulate Cousin Eddie C. and Uncle Ed P., winners of PDQ swag. Just send us an email with your information at webcast@adminarsenal.com. We'll get that out to you as soon as we can. And if you have any additional questions, hit up our support forums. Thanks again, and we'll see you back here next week.